Vietnam. Okay, who at this point did the Vietnamese approach to lease these oil rights?
The leases were still there. I'm told many of them from originally that the South Vietnamese government, when it existed, had given to American companies. It is not the oil processing that's important. That's not it why the United States government is here. Is involved with Vietnam. It's the oil drilling technology. The United States has got the technology to drill offshore.
Well, all right, how does this oil issue relate to the POWs?
Okay, well basically you've got to do something with the POWs before the two countries can come together. The United States actually holds Vietnam hostage by being able to get to the oil, which is going to be Vietnam's economy in the future. And Vietnam has a POW, so you go together. But actually in the 80s, when there was negotiation between the two countries about POWs, Vietnam said, we want to talk about oil. So it's a long thing. The second thing that the U.S. has got that Vietnam wants is a Navy. Vietnam wants the U.S. Navy back into Cam Ranh Bay to protect Vietnam's oil interests against China. Without the United States Navy in there, China will eat up anything that Vietnam tries to put out there.
As a matter of fact, those rights are now under dispute.
Absolutely. And the Japanese, according to another high-level source, are pushing the daylights out of the United States, get back in, get control of that pond so that we can have the oil closer to home.
And they need it.
Absolutely. And so it comes back to strategy. And the same thing that actually started the war back in the late 40s and early 50s with the French, oil. Okay.
Okay. Let's back up. We touched on this before with the POW issue, and particularly you talked about Mr. Borton. Yes. We had the distinct pleasure as an outgrowth from a show that we did to have Unsolved Mysteries do a follow-up program on this matter as well. And there were responses.
Absolutely. Last December was when the Unsolved Mysteries aired the program. Within of minutes of that segment, even before the program was over, phone calls started coming in to Unsolved Mysteries switchboard. People, well, a dozen or so, who said that they either had served with Borton or that they had known him and worked with him here in the United States. There were a total of 99 calls, I think, about within 2 hours after the segment aired, you know, because it went East Coast, Central, and Mountain, and you could just follow the show across the country by those phone calls. Unfortunately, poor Diane, who has got these leads.
Borton being the sister.
Yeah, that's right, the sister who was on our program. She unfortunately has got all these leads and no money or anything like that to folloh up with it.
And no assistance from our wonderful government.
Oh, absolutely. Our government now, who denies that he exists as a returnee, but they can't explain how he supposedly was killed in August 1966. But there is a dental exam in his records, in the classified portion of his records, that shows a dental exam in January of 1968. How is that possible? Yeah. There is a letter of commendation for activity that he did in 1967. But that's not all. There are also a couple of other MIAs that we're tracking that there's credit activity. I mean, on them, there are extra special digits added onto their veterans VA numbers that are highly classified that show basically that there's activity of them.
Interesting. This thing is going on, and as I said at the top of the show, 20 years and we still have questions. As we end this program on Vietnam, I'd like to add a personal note. Our director, Dante was a Vietnam veteran. For him, the fall of Saigon was a personal tragedy. Dante served as a forward observer in the Ai Trong Valley, better known as VC Valley.
The outpost is secluded on a hilltop 12 kilometers away from base camp. and was comprised of 4 American artillery surveyors and a dozen local mountain yard militia personnel. I lived and fought with these people, their families and pets, for months at a time. We shared food and medicine and diverse cultures that was entwined with increasingly intimate friendship, surrounded by life and death scenarios. Laughing together, we shared life stories together. We were horrified and terrorized together at a time that shaped my future. I only wish your futures could have been as bright. With the fall of the South Vietnamese government that supported the militia, the deaths of my mountain yard compatriots was assured. Their names were on the enemy's hit list, and they wouldn't settle to live under communist rule. Rest in peace, San, Quem, Sergeant Rock, Lin, Mooch, and all the other honorable souls. You will be missed.